In May this year, we will be celebrating 9 years of being together. In this video, we're going to share with you the story of how we met, our first kiss, and
our first date.
So stick around. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we create English content to empower internationals to settle into life in Germany more smoothly. We're going to divide this video into 4 sections. Number 1 is our backstory. How did we both end up in Dusseldorf? Number 2, the day we met. Number 3, the day when we had our first kiss. And number 4 is our first date. So point number 1, our backstories. How did we both end up in Dusseldorf?
Right, so I'm originally from Bonn area, so from the Rhineland, so from Germany pretty much, yeah.
Always the joke is Yvonne from Bonn.
And I also studied in Bonn, and during my studies and after my studies, I always wanted to escape Germany. So I spent a lot of time abroad, especially on cruise ships, working there for like 4 years, and had a lot of international relationships, let's put it that way. And at some point, you know, I just had this urge to leave the ships, to get some privacy, some private life, because that's really not possible there, and decided to give Germany a chance. And I went back to Bonn to my parents and started applying to jobs. I intended to go to Cologne, however, it seems like the Cologne people or companies didn't really want me, and I ended up in Düsseldorf.
Good. I'm glad they didn't want you and you ended up in Dusseldorf. And which year was this?
That was 2013.
Okay. My story is completely different. So as you probably heard at the beginning of the video, I was born and raised in Guatemala, and I lived there until I graduated from the university. And I also wanted to leave Guatemala for other reasons, one of them being queer and also looking for a better quality of life. So my first stop was actually through an internship through the university in Budapest. I lived in Budapest for 2.5 years roughly, and I would say I wasn't very happy in Budapest, both because of the local people. No offense to Hungarians, but I mean, I didn't feel very welcome. The language was super hard and the winter super cold. And I also didn't have very much success with meeting other women, let's say. So I searched for new jobs. I searched left, right, and center. I wanted to stay in Europe. And actually the one job, the only one actually that replied to all my applications, was a job in Dusseldorf. And that's how I moved to Dusseldorf in 2012. Okay, so now that we're both in Dusseldorf, we were in different years and we didn't know each other, obviously. How was your dating experience and how did you meet women when you first arrived?
So generally speaking, in Germany, I mainly met women through online dating. Yeah, okay. And I mainly used the platform, very old school, but that was the one back in the day, called Lesarion. Also met one girl via a friend.
Okay.
It's actually quite common also that you know, meet people through friends. That was basically it.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, so you didn't date a lot of Germans. Were they all Germans that you were dating?
Well, in Germany, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right. For me, for example, I dated a girl because of a friend. Also, an Italian friend introduced me to an Italian girl, and we dated shortly. That didn't work out. And also through an app called OkCupid, I met a girl, which to this day, I don't know if we were dating or not, to be honest. We went out a couple of times, but nothing really happened, so I wasn't sure. She was also German. And that's actually it. And my strategy was actually to join sports team, because in Guatemala, at least, it's usually the women that join sports team. They tend to be queer women as well. I don't know why. However, in Germany, it seems that everyone is super sporty. So you join a sports club and all the women, no offense, of course, it's amazing, the majority are straight. So that wasn't very successful until we met. So it was kind of successful. So in my journey to joining sports clubs, actually the very first sports club that I joined was a softball team. And funnily enough, the only other queer woman was a girl from the US. I mean, if you want to talk about stereotypes, that's kind of funny in that sense. But other than that, everyone else was straight. I had a good time, but then practice was too far away and all these things. And during the same time, I had an Irish colleague who loved to go to this one Irish pub in the Altstadt, and we were hanging out there with him and other friends a lot. And there I saw the bartender, and I thought, oh, she's cute. And then I started like trying to flirt with her and hit on her until I found out that she is not queer. And she had a partner at the time, a man partner. But we ended up being really good friends. And she started actually created a women's Gaelic football team, because this Irish pub had a male team, but not a women's team. And she asked me to join. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with my quest of finding queer women, but it sounds like a lot of fun. The training was closer to home, and I already knew a few of the girls that were going to join. So, you know, just to keep on hanging out with friends, kind of. And that's how I joined this Gaelic football team in Dusseldorf.
So here comes my story that led me to that Gaelic football team in Düsseldorf. And that was actually the first carnival after I moved to Düsseldorf. We went to the Altstadt, so the old town where like all the pubs and bars are, after work. like in the afternoon. Carnival starts usually daytime. And I was a little bit disappointed because it was quite empty compared to what I would be used from Cologne. And there was this girl sitting at the bar looking quite cute. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna chat her up. Little did I know that woman was the bartender that Jen had already tried to chat up. And she was just taking a break from her bartending job in this other bar that I was in. So she was super nice and friendly and engaged in the conversation, and kind of like told me, hey, you know, if you later on you want to keep on partying, come over to my pub where I'll be working. I'll give you a few drinks, whatever. And by the way, you look a little bit athletic. Do you want to play Gaelic football? No idea what she was talking about, but I just said, sure. I mean, I was also still in the quest of meeting people in Düsseldorf. I was relatively new. And I was actually trying out different sports and to see where I'll end up in. So I was like, sure, sounds good. Let me know when and where.
Yeah, and that's how we both ended up on the Gaelic football team. So during this time that you were meeting this woman, I was not in Düsseldorf at the time. I was actually in Guatemala doing a trip visiting family and friends. And I decided in Guatemala to get a tattoo. And this tattoo, I have it here on my upper left shoulder. You've probably seen it in the thumbnail of like the sauna video or whatnot. And on the way back, of course, the tattoo artist told me, hey, you have a fresh tattoo. It's better if you don't sweat, so try not to do sports. So on my way back, actually like the weekend afterwards, it was a beautiful day in Düsseldorf. And I'm like, you know, I can't do sports, but I want to go see the practice because the practice was in this open park. Just to hang out. You know, like I said, it was like a lot of fun to be there with friends and people that I knew. So I just, you know, arrived to see the training, and then I saw this new girl running up and down, super like excitedly.
But you had already heard of me from this girl.
So this girl had already told me that, hey, by the way, there's a new girl joining the team. Because I had already explained to this girl, you know, like it's so frustrating here in Germany. I try to join sports teams to meet women, and I meet women, but they're not queer women, and I'm not also attracted to them generally, right? So, and so she kind of knew that struggle, let's say. So she wrote to me, hey, there's a new girl joining the team. She's quite cute, and she's queer.
And this girl, the bartender, had pitched Jen already to me. So she was a little bit in the background, kind of like playing like the Cupid, telling me about Jen, that she's currently in Guatemala and blah, 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 blah. So here is the day of the practice where I'm there to train, and Jen shows up to not train. So because of the tattoo.
Because of the tattoo, yeah. So then I arrive, and obviously after you have a break for practicing, we introduce each other. And this is what Yvonne says I went like.
Well, you need to say.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So it's more like we were approaching each other and just like,
hey, I'm Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Yvonne.
But she says that I did it in a super like deep tone of voice.
I'm Jennifer.
That is so not true, I think. Yeah, I think that's fake news. And that's the very first time we touched each other's hand. And I would say it wasn't love at first sight. I thought you were a very athletic, and actually, because you were running super fast and like being all engaged in the team. And mind you, this Gaelic football team, it was a very professional amateur. It was more for the fun and laughs than to actually practice, you know?
Yeah, and I would agree there was like nothing. Yeah, I mean, great. We both knew that we were queer, but so what? Doesn't mean that, you know, just because of that, you need to instantly fall in love with each other. No.
Yeah.
And also, I wasn't attracted, no.
Yeah, oh, thanks. If you're liking this video, then make sure to hit that like button. And if you have seen us a few times before and you haven't subscribed to our channel, then consider hitting that subscribe button.
And if you'd like to go the extra mile, you can also support us in the form of a donation in a virtual coffee at simplegermany.com/coffee. Thank you for your support.
So how did we go from not feeling attracted to each other to actually being married and actually being together now for like 9 years? So here comes the story of the day when we had our first kiss. And this, we need to know a little bit of a backstory beforehand. And the thing is that through this Gaelic team, we had a tournament in Holland where we failed miserably, but it was so much fun that we all decided, you know, let's have a social night, and next Friday, let's all meet at the pub so we can just hang out with each other and have a couple of beers.
So until then, like a couple of months had passed where we had frequently seen each other practicing, and, you know, we're just team buddies pretty much.
Yeah. So the Friday arrived, and Yvonne is a good German as she is. She was there very on time. I think it was like 7 p.m. or something. And no one was there, you said, right?
I arrived to the pub. No one was there except for the bartender because she was working. And I mean, so I had someone to talk to. Irish pub, I easily found conversation. That's the beauty of it. But no other team member was there. So I was like chatting them up, like, hello, what's going on? We said we'd meet each other today, and everyone bunked out. Jen semi-bunked out. She's like, well, I mean, if you can wait 2 hours, I'll be there. I'm like, okay.
So during this day, actually, an Argentinian friend, she had invited me to go to another Argentinian's house where she did like a movie night once a month or something. And we saw an Argentinian movie. Little did I know that that movie was going to be like 3 hours long. And long story short, I was at the pub at like around 10 p.m. or something like that. And you were still there.
Yes, I was still there.
And I remember specifically, this was the first time I saw you outside of your sports clothes. So I thought, oh, she's not that bad looking, you know, because with sports clothes it's different, right? You have like the baggy shorts and shirts and you're sweaty and it's like, you're like tomato purple, sorry, tomato red from sweating so much. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And I even remember you had this like purple shirt on. T-shirt, and I'm like, oh, okay, hey, you know, and we hanged out a little bit in the pub. And then we moved to another bar, and then my Argentinian friend left, and then we were both left together, and I asked Yvonne a very crucial question at this time. Do you like Latino music, and do you like to dance?
And the answer to both was yeah.
But like enthusiastically, yeah. I'm like, oh, cool, okay, so I know this really small Latino bar, like around, you know, like 5 minutes walking. We can go and just, you know, dance a little and then call it a night. That was the plan.
I didn't know her intention back then already.
I also actually didn't know my intention. I felt a little bit attracted, you know, but I also didn't know my intention. But then we arrived to the Latino bar. We ordered some drinks. Actually, one of our favorite drinks in this bar was this Pampero shot. Do you remember? That was the first time we also had it together. And we start dancing. And then I realized, oh wow, like Yvonne can actually move, you know, she can dance. And we were there having fun, you know, like dancing. And through time, you know, we Latino dance, usually you dance closer with each other. And then we dance a little bit closer. And then I would lean in to kiss her. And then Yvonne says,
I don't date Latinas.
Whoa. And I was like, what? What do you mean you don't date? So I'm like, pause the music. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't date Latinas? That's like a big population you're talking about.
Yeah, and as a good human, I generalized drastically. Backstory is that I got a little bit burned by a Mexican and a Honduran on the cruise ships.
But you know, Mexico, Honduras, I'm from Guatemala, so I'm the sweet spot.
So, you know, I it was very dramatic. I mean, it was, by being burned, it was very dramatic. And I just was like, I don't want any Latino drama. So I was like, I don't date Latinas.
I just marry them. You should have said at that moment as well, right? And I'm like, girl, you're thinking, oh, and you also started saying like, I don't want to like, you know, like mess the team dynamic. And what if the things don't work out and then there's drama? I'm like, dude, don't think of the future. Let's live in the now. You know, like there's no point in thinking of what is going to happen. Let's just enjoy today. So I would say maybe 2 or 3 songs/shots later, I leaned in again to kiss you, and this time, success. And that was our first kiss at a Latino bar.
So that was that night, and I mean, yeah, I guess I had fun there too. Actually, Jen's memory there is a lot stronger, maybe because she had the initiative in her mind. I don't know. But for me, that was just, you know, just a thing. Like I didn't really interpret it as, this is the start of a relationship. So that was a Friday night.
Yes.
And then the following Sunday, we actually saw each other again in the pub.
Yes.
I think it was like trivia night or something. And I already started feeling a little bit sickish, and I left early. And I left the pub and I walked out on the street, and you were next to me.
Yes.
You claim you accompanied me. I think you sneaked after me. Because I don't remember you being there.
It sounds like I went out and chased you, which is not the case. I think we walked out together.
Anyway, so we're on the street, Jen is there, and suddenly on the street, in the public place, in front of like kind of like the team members, she kisses me again. And I'm like, whoa, where does this come from?
You were super shocked, I must say. Especially, I think you were ashamed to show to the team members that something had happened. And B, like, I don't know, like it wasn't anything serious, right? I'm like, well, you know, a good night kiss so you get better. Luckily, I didn't get sick as well, right? So I think there maybe something triggered like, okay, maybe this could be more, but it wasn't anything serious, I would say.
No.
Until like you got really sick with your throat and you couldn't speak for like a whole week.
Yeah, for like a few days, I really couldn't speak. And then Jen decided to come and visit me, came over to my place, and literally sat on the couch with me for like 5 hours, and I call it the monologue. You know, the monologue happened, and she just entertained me and made me laugh, and really showed her humorous side, and I guess that kind of sparked something. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so for you to fall in love with me, I just need to speak nonstop for 5 hours. But But then anyways, I said, like, you're not feeling well, but when you feel well, let's why don't we try going on a date together and see, what's up outside of a Latino bar or of being sick. And then that led to our very first date. And I don't remember the date specifically, but what I do remember is that we met at the train station. And there I was super nervous, you say, right? And I remember you came out like from the escalator. So
yeah, I had to take the escalator that goes up.
Yeah.
So the platform was on the ground, like -1 level. I had to take the escalator up. And there at the end of the escalator on top, you were kind of like waiting, but 10 meters away. So I had to walk towards you. And that's what you remember.
Yeah. And I remember it's like a movie, like I see her come out of the escalator. You had like your open hair and there was like a little bit of windy. You had your leather jacket and you were just walking like a model. And I was like, whoa.
And I just remember Jen standing there like, like all cute and a little bit nervous. You could tell like she was all like a little nervous and excited. Yeah, that's very cute.
Yeah, thanks, Na. And so we had our very first day. We went to a Mexican restaurant called Casita Mexicana in Düsseldorf. There's a few of them now, but this one was the one in Pempelfort, no? And there we had our first date, and we, had Mexican food, some margaritas, and we had a very fun night. We talked nonstop. It was such a fluid conversation. We understood each other very well, and I would say that was the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, from there on, we started dating more.
Yeah.
And more.
And more.
And more.
And more. I moved in.
Half a year later.
Half a year later, very, very, very fast probably. But it just worked out, right?
Half a year is still fine.
Yeah, but it was just working out so well.
Yeah.
And then 2 years after we were dating, 3 years, I proposed. And you said yes.
Okay, the proposal 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. You said yes, and then we got married 3 years after we met, I think, right?
Correct,
Yeah, so that's the story. Did you know we have templates on our website that can help you settle into life in Germany more smoothly?
You can check them out at simplegermany.com/templates.
Now, continuing with the video. I think for me, the craziest part of our story is that sometimes in the least expected places, that's where you actually find the one.
I totally agree. And for me, I think it was also one of the first times that I would meet someone and kind of like start dating or start a relationship with that I know before and wasn't really attracted to. So usually in the past, it's been always like I meet someone new, it's like, ooh, and there's immediately this like, oh, like this chemistry, this desire, this I don't know what. But here it was completely different. But it's also the longest lasting and most, I would say, intense and loving relationship.
Aww. Yeah, so it's not all about love at first sight. Right?
I would agree.
Yeah. And of course, during our dating times, we had to overcome a few culture shocks because, of course, we come from 2 different cultures. And we talk about it in our video called 7 Culture Shocks of Dating a German as a Latina. You can check out the video here on the left. Until next time, cheers!
If you're liking this video and you would like to support this channel, please also give it a thumbs up.